Hello, viewers. I'm SB,
And I'm Amabel.
and welcome back to Humankind here in Amabel Goes to Forex School. Where, I'm noticing there is a space here that is large enough for another landmass of this size. Well, we checked out there was one down here too, and we checked that out at the cost of a ship. Haven't seen this. Might be worth looking into. Speaking
Yeah.
of looking into things, I did look into some things between episodes. You remember last time I was like, why on earth would there be a 50 strength unit at this point in the tech tree with no prerequisites? That seems crazy. Well, the reason that it's like that is because what I didn't notice last time, the ships have a totally different combat strength progression than the land units do. The naval artillery ships are at 52 and 56 here. So actually, our unit is quite weak relative to the other ships of the era. So we did not necessarily get a good deal on that, but we did get
'Cause they're,
a science focused culture at a time when we're
yeah.
doing pretty okay science returns. So, I don't think it's the end of the world.
But those ships are less likely to interact with the land units, right?
I mean, what? Who? What?
Those ships are less likely to interact in
Those
combat
ships?
with the land units. Ships, generally, boats. So them having a very
Less
different
likely
combat
than what? Hold
progression.
on. What are you talking? What? There's a lot of things in your sentence that are
The
comparators to other things, and you are refusing to
the
enlighten.
naval units are less likely than land units to be
Okay.
interacting with land units in combat.
Okay. Sure. Yes.
So it makes sense that they might have like just a different scale.
I mean,
Are
there's not
they
really a reason.
are they
Why
more
would they need to
expensive
have a
to
different scale? Why
build?
couldn't they just have the same scale? I don't know. Let's see.
Well, because that makes ships, so that makes it when ships do interact with land units
So
meaningful,
these guys are like
because they'll have the higher
679.
combat strength, much in the same way a ship bombarding a land position
Ships are
could be
way
quite
cheaper
devastating.
than land units to build. It would seem.
Okay.
Yeah, an elephant is like 560 industry, and even one of our new fancy ships would only be 280.
Well, I guess a ship can't capture an enemy capital or anything.
Right,
So
it can't take territory, and I'm not 100% clear on what point you were making in any case, if I'm honest. And Val, your ways are very baffling to me. This has always been true.
I mean, it would make sense to me if I was creating some kind of game where there was going to be both naval and land combat to have like this is an approach that makes sense to me as far as like the naval units against each other are kind of evenly matched, but they outclass the land units which they interact with only in specific circumstances where the bearing that naval power upon a land position, bombardment, for example, can be quite devastating. I'm reminded of the Battle of the Alma in 1854.
I'm just gonna let you keep talking. Feel free.
Okay, where bombardment of the position did help, uh, with the advancement, particularly of the French on the French half of the battlefield against the Russians. There's a number of reasons why the French were particularly more successful than the British at the Battle of the Alma, and more successful than the Russians. And I've made like 3 different games about it. So like
Yeah.
that's a thing I know about. But I'm just thinking about it is a battle in which there is some naval bombardment um, happening alongside land combat.
Okay, so part of the deal with this ship is that it does get a combat strength bonus when adjacent to other ships. So it'll close some of that gap to the 56er in that way.
Okay.
And we have access to our fancy new ships now. So, pushing up to naval artillery to get access to bonus 1 slot in each army would certainly be helpful for taking people over. The regimental system limits war support loss from losing units and increases war support gain from destroying other people's units. I mean, we definitely want to make sure we get to some kind of era appropriate melee unit.
Yeah.
Well, the elephants are at 39 strength. We don't, I suppose, necessarily need to push super fast and hard to get to 42 strength from our, what do you call it? That's right. We need 3-masted ship. We need naval transports.
Yeah.
I forgot that we didn't have it already. This is the thing that we focused San Lorenzo into science mode for. And in the meantime, we continue to build science districts. And as we gain population, continue to push toward the next tier of our religion.
Yes, greetings.
They would like diplomatic cooperation. Grants you 50% of all leverage from leverage intel obtained by the other empire. This is solely positive for us, I think. It's extremely unlikely that we're going to capture any intel from Green. But Pink, with their units moving around Greens all the time, like this seems like it's just going to be free leverage for us. And nothing for Pink. But I think Pink is just trying to like bind up the relationship as much as possible in whatever way. Because they are, concerned about their survival. They need us not to want to abandon them. And as soon as we have this tech, we can scoot this guy across to here in 2 turns, and then we can make landfall, and we can... Pink's still got this unit over here, but they're not claiming it yet. And I don't know why, but I'm going to hope that that continues to be the case. Oh, no? Okay. They're behaving very erratically. I do not know what to make of that. Hey, look, we discovered 200 gold. So we're in one of those periods again where a lot of what we're doing is waiting.
I noticed.
All right, 3 turns without making any meaningful decisions, but now 3-masted ship. Look at this shit. Whoosh. A grievance, will they?
How do you do? In every sense of the question.
Wait. I have an army. Where's my what? Oh, this ship in the water. They dare. So they've got a Carrack, which has a 56 base combat strength, and their Carrack has 2 veterancy stars.
Okay.
From experience gained. The expectation on the instant resolution is that we would just get blown up if we fought this, and that's probably true. If we can get adjacent to them without taking any ranged fire, my guess is the bonus for being the bonus for fulfilling our ship's special consideration will probably be 4 strength points, because that tends to be the case.
Okay.
Considerable combat bonus is 4. So we'll be 55 to 56 and we'll get run. So I think it is probably wise to go ahead and withdraw. They're basically just running a ship out here for the purpose of preventing us from grabbing stuff. And that is dick move. I guess it is gonna make it possible for us to get some leverage. So Pink is gonna get something out of their deal right away. Well, good on them. So what is my next concern? At movable typeface, we get a fair amount more science. I mean, that seems... I don't think we're going to need the 6th unit slot in the army, in the armies right away, certainly. It's hard to imagine. Try to get away from their boats a little bit here. We have reduced movement the turn after a retreat. They are killing my boat. What a bunch of assholes. Is that the only place? Can I not get up on land over here? No, I guess that's cliff. Okay, well. Do I have... It looks like we no longer have any penalty from being on open water, in addition to everything else. And we have a peace pact with Pink, of course, so we can just go ahead and park our unit over here. All right. So we have built all of the emblematic districts that we are entitled to over here. City looks like it needs an aqueduct. We could use a little bit of approval management here. And then we're kind of on to other things, or at least we have the ability to be on to other things. Are we constructing military? So right now, like we're not full on population for the city, but we are so high on population that we are consuming more than we can make food-wise. So turning population into military units here prevents us from just losing the population to a certain extent.
And I would say that if you had like several ships in that instead of just one, you wouldn't have gotten run off quite so.
No, yeah, we could certainly make enough boats to be like to have a functional navy. Is that where we're at? We only have 5 saltpeter instead of 6, so our boats are 5% more expensive. I mean, maybe. Oh, the city's harbor is inside the... Hold on, I have to formally resolve this. So we can't retreat because we still have the retreated status. So I'm gonna manual the resolution here. Let's start us like way in the back. I just want to test if I'm right about the amount of combat strength that we're looking at.
Might as well find out.
Kind of figured they were just going to, sail directly forward and that would be the end of that. There we go. Well, you found me. Gosh, their ships sure do move fast. These are also escort ships. Yeah, so we're going to have a naval force that is capable of pushing back on this kind of stuff. Turns out I don't even get to test. They've run us down.
Well, that's rude.
Some terrible affliction blights the livestock of Onug, causing the animals to foam at the mouth, attack each other, collapse, and soon perish. Whatever this disease may be, it spreads like wildfire. There is a growing inevitability that this plague will reach other settlements, and thus imperial food stocks across the land. Worse, there are scattered reports of people also falling prey to the frightful new ailment. We must decide how best to stem this pestilent tide while we still can. So we can order the isolation of all animals with the symptoms. This may beat back the disease without cost or impact, or it may merely delay its spread. Plus money, anti-science. That's not the scientific way to handle it, I guess. It seems like quarantine is I don't know. Seems like quarantine's a reasonably scientific solution. Or we can enlist men to cull every animal that has been near an infected one. The losses will be terrible, but I mean that'll certainly cut down on transmissibility. So we'll lose a little bit of industry output in the city, but it really is a very small amount. 10 industry of the 700 that we currently have per turn, right? Like, feels like a pretty minor cost to pay. Okay, and we need to be careful now, I guess, forever, about going outside of our borders on the ocean. Can't get on land until... Oh, hi. Hey, look, it's a Carrick. Boy, they sure do always know. Well, I'm going to grab this real quick and then retreat back inside my territory. Oh, right, you're not an envoy. I had to remember, you need to, when you're not a diplomatic culture, you need a diplomatic culture to grab leverages. Or you need a diplomatic unit, rather.
I knew what you meant.
I think I would probably have an easier time remembering that if we hadn't had our first encounter with those things while we were playing a diplomatic culture. You know?
Yeah.
So is any of this going to give us any significant amount of money? No, not really. We're not really built for access to the money infrastructures. We're just not very good at them. Well, it's a little bit... I guess let me build an aqueduct here. And then we're maybe in a position to claim a new wonder. Increases leverage action cost for other empires. Like the city on the west side of the continent is not going to be able to contribute to, just logistically speaking, building ships quite as much and stuff. So I'm thinking maybe we could be working on something else over here. 5 influence per adjacent maker's quarter. 100% production toward any shared project. I mean, that doesn't seem bad. For us especially. And the Brussels Town Hall. Gain 50 fame for each previously claimed cultural wonder. 50 bonus fame for each new cultural wonder constructed. 15 money per adjacent maker's quarter and 15 industry per adjacent market quarter. This is kind of a neat one.
Yeah.
So I think the Topkapi Palace is definitely... These are both very compelling. I think I'd like to, if we're talking about potentially grabbing both of them, I'd like to grab this one first, so that its production bonus can be applied to the other one.
Okay.
Provided that, of course, that we can get them both, and we'll see. We'll see how reasonable that seems. Wish I had more vision. With ships on the ocean moving as fast as they do here, it's actually like, it's very dangerous to even try to scout ahead. Get out of the water. Okay. Ah, there's an encampment up here, but it's a peaceful encampment at least. All right, people are buying access to our resources.
A friend.
Here's the other deal. So, strategic sighting empires can build each other's current emblematic units. Unfortunately, she's further back than we are, right? I don't know, she's in the era we just unlocked. Yeah. So her unit is contemporary. 43 strength gunner. That removes the bonus combat strength gained by enemies in forests and behind walls. I mean, yeah, there's no reason I wouldn't sign the deal.
I agree. This is unexpected.
There's also a trade
Excellent.
thing popped up.
They've changed what resources they have access to.
Okay.
Something like that.
Gotcha.
It was unlikely to be something meaningful. All right, I'm going to put together, at the very least, enough ships for a full naval group there. What city needs? Do we still need? Yeah, and this city's about to see the end of its little the end of its self-imposed science exile thing. So let's put this. This doesn't get any particular adjacency bonuses. Oh no, it gets +5 influence per maker's quarter. So it's tempting to try to put it in the other districts, but I think we really just want to take advantage of the stability as best we can here. Honestly, this is not a terrible position. There's not a bunch of industrial quarters here yet, but there probably will be eventually. This land is very industry heavy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right. So next turn, you'll start building your stuff again. Tikal can get it on this right now. Okay. And you guys are just hanging out, waiting for the rest of your naval group to get built. So, cost for the outpost is unclear, but low enough. The important thing is it's low enough. So we probably want to put this down in a position where we can build a science quarter right next to it, capturing these two.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, honestly, we're probably just like right here.
All right.
It's not the most foodful place.
No, but this doesn't. There's a lot. This is going to be a lot of food here generally.
Yeah. So if we did put down there, we're at 6 food and 6 industry. I mean, honestly, I think that's about the best starting values we're going to get. We could play up here on the up here on the bluff for 5-9. And I can still put the first district down there. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's do that. So it'll take me a second to move over there. Lots and lots of Carracks just running around. Our regiment is complete-ish. Yes, we can run one more boat out there. And then let our population recover a little bit. Do we want to just start pushing their guys around the way they pushed ours around? We don't want to provoke war until we're ready, I suppose.
Yeah.
They can push us around because they're not afraid of us declaring on them. Yeah, damn, they have a lot of Carracks just kind of scattered all over the place around the, around this eastern ocean. Wow, is that really only going to take 2 turns to build between the 2 of them?
Wow.
I mean, we got pretty productive.
Topkapi has been built, rebuilt, and renamed any number of times. It is a testament to stamina and survivability.
We got pretty good at building things. All right, so it's going to take 3 turns for this to turn into a real outpost. I'm a little surprised at how quick that is. I'm not going to attack for the moment. So we could give this city a little bit of time to recover its population. And in the meantime, do what? We don't have terribly critical infrastructures. Like, it really does kind of feel like the answer is just build more districts.
Now, where are we on the district star? Quite a ways off?
Yeah,
or?
nowhere near, I would imagine. We're 9 districts off. It's not so far. Especially if we focus, 3 cities on doing it. Let's see here. Is there another, really high-yield spot to drop a science district around here? No, but that's in part because we have not really built science districts. Like we're just gonna have to put some down before we can start benefiting from clustering them. And I'm sure I had plans at some point. Yeah, we'll close in the holy site on this side. All right, San Lorenzo's got San Lorenzo stuff to do.
How does this day find you?
I'm not sure what it is you were asking me for.
The written word was previously available to a small, often wealthy elite. Now, knowledge and propaganda can be distributed to the masses.
It's interesting which texts get that little like cinematic effect.
Yeah.
It's not everything.
All green has something to say to you now.
They declared a surprise war on Pink, which has caused us to gain leverage against them due to our alliance. But also, you know. Oh. Brunhild preemptively forgave us for being at peace with the enemy. So as not to force my hand, I guess? I'm surprised by that. I would have thought this would be a hey, come rescue me kind of moment.
How does this day find you?
Yeah, okay. Well, it does feel like I should do something.
Your empire is an enigma.
We are much less powerful than them by their understanding. And I mean, they're not going to be wrong about that. The invention of movable typeface is a great breakthrough, but has the potential to cause a massive disruption to existing powers. Via the printing press, ideas, both profound and dangerous, can now be easily disseminated. Artists are in the vanguard of this revolution. So should artists be subject to censorship or given free reign of expression? Censoring art gives... Okay, that's interesting. If I'm interpreting this correctly, censoring art lowers the rate of stability loss when you are losing stability, but it doesn't actually change like what the threshold values are. It just changes the speed at which you move from current to... So down slower and up faster. Or, for every human soul to reach its potential, art must be free, which gives an additional 5 stability and 2 influence to every commons quarter. I mean, I feel like this is the thing that makes the most sense for us, both mechanically and spiritually.
Yeah.
If art is to speak and show the truth, you can't gag and bind it.
And whether or not you think it's important for art to speak and show the truth, I think is sort of the guiding principle behind whether that is an interesting conundrum to you in the first place. So, just a plus 10% science building, plus 1 stability per researcher. I mean, this is not nothing. Alchemy would probably be a good thing for us to pick up eventually, but it might not be the most important thing for us to pick up right this second. So what we do need to pick up right this second is probably war tools, right? We're going to need to go to war here in a moment. We're going
I'm
to
excited
need to
about
be...
getting to pick up Encyclopedia eventually, though. It'll unlock the bodyguard unit.
Yeah, do you want to finish the joke? Do you want to go ahead and...
No, I think everyone knows the joke I made.
Okay. I think you're going to be surprised at how many people don't. Thing is, we don't really need Carricks or... Well, the Man of War still might be useful. Yeah, alright. Give me naval artillery. So we don't We don't see. Here we go. We got a land force over here. So yeah, full set of musketeers with multiple veterancy stars. They also have knights. So that's pretty scary. That's a pretty scary set of units.
Are there any?
We could try to get our regiment of turtle ships over there. We're fast moving, but what are you trying to? What else are you saying?
Well, I was gonna say, are there any cities, any places that they have that are less well defended?
That they have. I'm gonna need you to use like actual. Okay.
That green
All right.
that green has that's less well defended.
Less well defended than Mycenae?
Well, green. You hovered over the thing with 7.
Yeah,
units,
a military force that's being used to attack Mycenae.
Okay, but something you can do in a military situation is you can open up a theater elsewhere to.
Yeah, but you're the one who's talking about stuff being less well defended. Less well defended than Amabel.
Less well. Okay, are there fights? Do you see fights that you can win?
Well, I think we can win this fight, maybe.
Okay.
We're certainly going to try. The game thinks we cannot. It's instant resolution looks real bad here. So we don't. How much reinforcement do they have? They have 4 Carracks coming in. Most of whom do not have veterancy, but they do get to go first, which is a huge advantage, obviously, because they attacked. They get to go first. So, like, am I really just going to lose everything? They'll have 4 attacks. It took like 4 ships attacking to destroy 1 turtle ship in the battle we saw before, right?
Yeah.
So we expect to lose a ship on the first turn, and then we have 5 ships to head back at them, and it probably takes like 4 attacks to destroy 1 of their ships, and we're taking counterattack damage the whole time. Ugh, I miss the Endless Legend combat system. I really like the idea of a unit only getting 1 turn in combat, no matter who's doing what attacking, is first of all so much more sensible, and secondly, so much more like mechanically supportable than this thing where a ship will deal damage and a unit will deal damage every time it is attacked in combat, no matter how many times. And so if your army is largely made up of melee units, all of your enemies have 3 times as many attacks. It's like it disadvantages melee units to such a huge degree. Well, we're not actually melee units though. We want to be adjacent to our enemies, but we would be attacking them with a ranged attack from melee range. I'm going to do a manual battle. It doesn't feel right that we would lose everything. I don't understand how that will happen, and so I need to be shown. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I am saying I need them to show me. So if we create a little morale ball here in the corner, try to give ourselves the best possible chance of surviving some of this nonsense. This is a classic maneuver known as a morale ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says both sides are evenly matched here. The combat strength predictor actually had us ahead on combat strength. But then the auto-resolve prediction was that we would lose everything and they would lose nothing. So we're going to see what happens. Okay, so you get, at least navally, you get counterfire in range, which is not a thing we were seeing with land units. Right, when we were having our elephants shoot at the crossbows. The crossbows we're not getting to fire back. And that's the whole thing they did with their turn?
And it does make sense with naval. Because the thing with naval battles, a lot of it is just a lot of simultaneous.
Yeah.
And I guess melee battles tend to be pretty simultaneous as well. But
Yeah, that's why melee units work like that, right? Like,
yeah.
so we definitely want to make sure we're moving up our morale ball together. And yeah, it seems like we should be able to embarrass these dudes pretty badly. Wow, they rolled maximum damage on that. Okay, and on that, their damage range of 5 to 25 just means 25 apparently.
Okay.
That's pretty slick. It must be very nice to have that assurance. So we don't know where the rest of them are, but we can continue to move forward in the ball. And we took one of them out at no losses.
Yeah. I do wish that the naval battles in this and the Endless Legend worked more like the spaceship battles in Endless Space, because that makes more sense for naval combat.
Yeah, a game that does sort of a combined thing. I think it's more interesting strategically, and it probably makes more sense representationally. But you're going to get a lot of people complaining that with either of the existing combat systems, you already have people who complain constantly that they're too, that the systems are too complicated to grasp. If you have two different combat systems in the game, you're going to see that complaining redoubled.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize there's a bunch of babies playing these games.
Okay, so here's the rest of their ships. And they probably should have moved all their ships in together. Seems to me like the smart thing to do. But we want to close to melee here.
Yeah.
Where we theoretically have a huge advantage that is it is kind of strange that like the damage ranges at the strengths that we're operating at are like 5 to 25 and 25 to 33. So like if both of us roll maximum damage, there's almost no difference between the strengths. But if we both roll minimum damage, the difference is like tremendous. I wonder how they chose those as their like bounding values.
Yeah.
And then we have to decide like, where do I want this guy to end up? Do we want to be? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. You have something to say that's more important than the move here? Amabel?
I have something to say that's going to be relevant, but it can wait.
It's like, I'm trying to figure out if, like, I don't want to move up just adjacent to anybody, right? My hope is we can kill this guy with the fire from some of these ships, and then this guy can open up on the next one, gets to start working on the next one. If we're thinking that we're probably going to need 4 shots to kill this guy, then we should move this unit up just into morale support position, right? We should just move adjacent to 2 of our other ships. I don't think it makes sense to move adjacent to this guy, even though this means this cannon shot's obviously going to be weaker.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, I wonder how they determine just the combat strengths generally, because in a military game, there's some fudge factor, but a lot of it is like, assigning the combat strength depending on the size of units, with like just adding a modifier for quality. With naval combat in particular, naval combat games, it tends to be just, taking the number of guns on the ship and dividing it to create like a fire factor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I don't know how you say, like, how do they determine the range for the damage here? And yeah, that's a really interesting question, like how they determine the combat strength and the range, because I don't think they're working from like casualty returns or historical data in the same way that you would if you were doing a game on the Battle of X, Y, or Z.
Well, and none of it's representational. None of that would mean anything anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
And
so we got completely fucked by the dice, basically. This ship should be dead. Like, if we were hitting expected value and they were hitting expected value, we would have taken a lot less damage over the course of this, and they would have taken more. And what has happened here is that we've been randomed into a terrible position. I mean, if we can finish off one ship, it would be a big deal. But it's going to rely on us not rolling the bottom of the damage range. Okay. We got something. We took a huge amount of damage there. Holy hell.
Yeah.
I don't think we rolled basically even to them on damage or below them on damage, I think, on every attack. Yep, that's smart. Run away. So I'm going to keep this ship back. Let's just roll you up to here. Okay, so you get to lead because you have 3 adjacency bonuses. So yeah, like this, 7 to 25 versus 22 to 33. If we both roll max damage, we've done very similar amounts of damage. And if we roll minimum damage, one of us has done a third of the other one's damage. And those don't seem like... These don't seem like competitive damage ranges, right?
Yeah.
And it really means that when they roll high, it's a much larger variance from expectation. So of course they always roll high. Have we seen them go below in this 7 to 20 supposed 7 to 25 damage range? Have we seen them roll below 20 even once?
No.
Their output is tremendously above expectations. I don't think it's worth it for us to if we move up an attack. Well, no, we should move up an attack because we'll get pretty close to even value here. Although we'll see how the roll actually comes out. Yep, of course. There's something going on with these dice.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why the round hasn't ended, because like it says this unit technically can still do stuff, but I actually can't attack any of the things that are still in here. So okay, that was a turn. That's a pretty annoying battle. I'm not a big fan of that. And the battle area manages to extend over such a huge portion of the sea that this city's not able to build reinforcing ships, which really sucks.
Yeah, that's not great. Who said that was okay?
I think it would probably be helpful. Like, probably part of what's happening here is that the damage ranges aren't actually like that's not a flat linear probability. Right? Like, you know, like it's something akin to rolling like a couple of dice or something, how you don't get a flat distribution. But if that's the case, I think they need to make that clear.
Yeah, and that even would be... I think that's fun for people to see, like, oh, they're rolling 2d6 or whatever.
It's no, it's not. People would complain, but
what
it needs to. I think it needs to be the case.
Why are people babies? I don't understand it.
I have seen strategy gamers complain about everything you could possibly imagine and several things you might not be able to imagine. If things are not expressed to them in the simplest possible way, and the systems are not fully intuitive for them specifically, they don't care how anybody else's mind works, you're going to get some complaints. I've been in too many forums arguments.
All right, I'm gonna say something wild.
Yeah.
Historical war gamers are more chill than these strategy games.
Well, I think the problem that you're probably getting is like, what of size? Rather than any given historical war game that you're talking about, like what is the size of that community? What is the number of people in that community?
Yeah, I mean, I
Versus the number of people that play, Humankind or Civ or whatever. Like, it's a lot of people. It's like a lot of people, right?
yeah, I mean, I would assume that maybe historical wargaming, like hex and counter wargaming that I'm familiar with, you're maybe looking at these days, I don't know, 30, 40,000 people in the U.S.
It did not strike me that none of my units would be able to fire past this front unit. I would have taken my turn very differently. Yeah, the scale of the video game market audience is really something.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that, is part of what kind of killed the historical board game industry.
Mm-hmm.
That particular niche was just people going to Dungeons and Dragons, people going to computer games. I think to the degree the size of like the war game audience was more just people wanting complicated strategy games, and war games was what people had available.
Yeah.
And then they realized, oh, I don't need to go through all this shit. I mean, it's something that
we found a musketeer in that
cool.
thing over there. That's handy.
I mean, it's a tradition I came up in, but I recognize a lot of it is a lot more tedious than it needs to be.
I'm gonna build us an envoy real quick to scoop up all this leverage that's just hanging out on the ocean. Every year, the great population of your empire, contented in their essential needs, clamor for more and more titillating news stories. It has become clear that, should you choose, these stories could help shape public perceptions. Let's talk about freedom of the press. Should the news be controlled by the government? If we go into propaganda mode, it's going to pull us way out of liberty, but it does provide a flat +1 war support every turn, versus freedom of speech, which will keep us dug way in over here, and will lower the cost of enacting and canceling future civics. These are starting to get pretty expensive.
If different opinions can't be
Okay,
heard,
I was going to
people
ask,
might end up
which is the
believing
choice
whatever
where
ridiculous
they
things the government says.
Which is
what's
the choice where you exclusively talk while other people are trying to talk? It turns out it's all of them. It turns out it's all of them. I love you.
You know what? Okay, you don't get
I'm
my
sorry.
my witty barb now.
Okay, you gotta wait until
No witty Barbara for you.
you gotta wait until he's done with his barbs, and then you can give your barbs.
I was starting to talk and he interrupted me.
He is very difficult to work with. There's not really a lot we can do about that. Oh, a new civics vote. Well, let's get you over here and get ready to scoop some of this stuff up. Y'all need to fall back to friendly territory. We definitely need to make this a city pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
But we can buy improvements for the district with influence before we turn it into a city. So I am going to go ahead and build the harbor with influence before turning this into a city, after which point it would cost us gold to build it.
Gotcha.
All right. So we got the I don't know if you saw, I hovered over the button for a moment there. But at this point, because of a thing that we researched, all of our new cities start with 3 population, a certain amount of flat production toward whatever projects we want to build, and the full set of infrastructure bonuses that are buildable up to the point of that technology. So this city actually has a lot of the basic buildings already, and will allow us to sort of jump out of the gate here with some decent construction, which will be good. Should be really good. Let's get a couple of districts down, and then we'll see where we're at from there. Okay. Unfortunately, that was not enough by itself to get us a territory star, and we'd have to take another region to get there, and that's probably not happening. What is the thing that we can upgrade you into right now? You could become a 27 strength horseman. I mean, I suppose we ought to. That's not very much money. But that's not, it's still not a combat unit. Not really. Oops, I didn't mean to separate you. Well, whatever. It's probably for the best.
What is purple's deal?
Pink?
Pink is purple. It's purple.
It's sort of an in-betweeny color. I think the text is a little bit more, like the color in the circle, I think is a little bit darker. The text is pinker, right?
I suppose so, yeah.
The lost cities of gold. Trade caravans laden with precious riches arrive often in the city of San Lorenzo. So much so, in fact, that envious locals often come to gawp as the treasures are unloaded by foreign merchants. Stories of where the riches hail from are rife. Now, rumors are spreading that there exists a legendary city across the seas where, such is the wealth that lies beneath its lands, the streets are paved with gold, every citizen wears jewel-encrusted robes, and to every piece of humdrum pottery is lined with gems. How should you leverage such speculation?
I have never encountered the word gulp before. That's a very good word. Good job.
It means what it sounds like it means in context,
Yeah.
To gaze slack-jawedly. So we should tell them that it rains silver, too. Let San Lorenzo become a place of avarice and gullibility. Note that this does hinder scientific thought in the area, which I appreciate. And of course, it moves the economic axis toward individualism. We can debunk this, obviously, do the exact opposite thing. Pull our people a little bit more toward progress, but we're already pretty there. Or we could send out an expedition. A great expedition will find this fabled city and claim its riches for glory. Send out 1,000 gold and a point of population for a chance of something happening? I mean, yeah. I don't think it's real, but go find out. All right, I guess we're going to deal with this at this point. So, conquered empires. What is our outlook on conquests? Green asks. This is something we had not had a vote on yet, which is interesting because we did actually conquer another empire. So, anti-imperialists. Our heads can be held high when we fight those who would oppress. Give plus 20 war support after winning a battle against an imperialist empire. And freeze all your current... Oh, darn it. Stupid twitchy hand. Freeze all your current vassals and generates grievances against empires with vassals, but prohibits the vassalize empire action. We were wondering why Green would possibly release their vassal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because they took this anti-imperialist civic position, and that broke their vassal out automatically. Or imperialism. For the sake of harmony, only one empire should be the ultimate victor, plus 10 war support after winning a battle. Moves your geopolitical axis toward homeland, which is just combat strength on your units. So right now we are in plus 1 combat strength on units. We could pull back toward the center. Generates grievances against empires of vassals is not going to be mechanically helpful. See, this is tricky. This is a problem I have with this system, actually.
Okay.
This system naturally pulls people toward consensus, and it's very difficult and expensive to evade consensus. But evading consensus is exactly the thing you want to be doing, right? One of these choices is right, and you want you to be making the right choice and everybody else to be making the other choice. As a player trying to win a game,
Yeah.
right? You want
And-
you to be making the mechanically powerful choice and everybody else to be doing the thing that is less mechanically powerful. And so a mechanic like this that tugs everybody toward consensus is not very interesting from a play standpoint. Because it's like
Yeah.
it's like you have to pay a pretty significant price to avoid having interesting decisions taken away from you. It's a
You know,
it's a
this
strange mechanism, I think.
This kind of thing could be more interesting, say, in a negotiation-based game, or a game where
Is this game not negotiation based?
Well, when I say negotiation-based game, I mean the kind of excuse me, the kind of game where you are doing a lot of deal making, cutting a lot of deals. There's a lot of social interaction. The kind of thing you see in a lot of board games.
Mm-hmm.
Some board games that you wouldn't necessarily see in something that's more mechanically tight. So so like I see that kind of mechanism working in that kind of context, but it does feel a little odd for this context. I am agreeing with you.
Okay, and this is a game where we are making tons of deals all the time, and
Yeah, but maybe because I'm only seeing you play it single player
mm-hmm.
with computers, I'm not getting the same kind of juice from it I get from a tabletop game where there's a lot of promises and deal making and haggling and whatnot. Like there's a whole social element to it that I don't find in this.
Okay.
And it might just be because we're only seeing a single player game.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's because you don't consider the other players in this game to be players, I guess.
No,
Because we're
not
doing
really.
exactly the thing that you're talking about. So, like, here's the problem. If I vote imperialist, it's going to drag everybody, like, it's going to drag people toward imperialist. This is a better position for us,
Yeah.
but it's worse. I think I don't want green to switch to imperialist.
Yeah.
Going anti-imperialist makes us worse at fighting green because it's going to peel a combat strength off of all of our units for essentially no benefit. And it allows green to stay exactly where they are. But if we go imperialist, then green is going to green is probably just going to revassalize pink, and this kind of sucks. I don't really want to be at the middle of this. In the long term, it is better for our geopolitical axis to move toward world. But right now, in this moment, what we want is the combat strength. I guess I'm going to go ahead and vote this way. Like my experience so far with the Congress of Humankind, and keep in mind this is just like 1.5 games, right? Because I played that game off camera. My experience with this has been that it's a complicated system that in the end has little to no effect on the game. Or what effect it has is to reduce decision space.
Yeah.
And this is a really good example of the way that it's doing that. And I don't. It's possible that I'm just not grasping how it could be best used for to make advantage.
Yeah.
Possibly, it's possible that it's on me. I'm gonna build a couple of boats to replace our dead here.
You know, not to put on my boring simulation hat again, But also,
It is.
like,
It is for sure the most boring of your hats.
thank you. But like, what does that simulate? Because, like, we have a United Nations now, and we had a League of Nations before.
Yeah.
They don't really. I
With
I don't think
15
they
farmers'
really.
quarters, you'll soon be needing another 15 quarters just for food storage.
I don't think they meaningfully make and enforce a lot of consensus. They just kind of.
Right, and like U.S. foreign policy is a really great example of the thing that I'm talking about, where like the U.S. benefits from everybody having one position and then absolutely refuses to take that position themselves. Right, like the U.S. is not signatory to the International Criminal Court, or we just like don't recognize the authority of The Hague, and
Yeah, and that stuff.
there is this kind of like this vague idea of different state religion. Man, we'll deal with this in a second.
I mean,
There's this idea of sort of like liberal consensus as the ideal position of the day, but it doesn't bear out in reality. Okay, so Green just did conquer both the Pink's cities within like 2 turns. So this game is about to just be a war game between us and Green. Founding cities across your own continent is a challenging endeavor, but still much simpler than founding them on foreign shores. Seasons, climate, wildlife, staple foods, everything is alien, not least a population drawn largely from local stock. Now that you find yourself in such a position, with the empire fragmented across different landmasses, you must decide your outlook on such new cities. So, far-flung cities should be vassal colonies, which gives bonus money on resource extractors in those cities and bonus resources to the capital, of course. And a big stability penalty to cities on foreign continents. Or stability on, plus stability on cities founded on a foreign continent. So it didn't actually move our position on that. I guess because we don't yet have the imperialism civic, the sort of like the position movement of that didn't kick in yet.
okay.
So we could just take vassal colonies right now and push up to, like, these are pretty small overall, either of them. Pretty small impacts.
Yeah.
Except that pushing this slider this way gets us an extra point of combat strength on each of our units, which is going to matter a whole bunch in the very near future.
Punish them for the unmeditated crime of being born elsewhere?
I appreciate that the game has viewpoint and is expressive of that viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I like that very much.
Like that's true
my
no
favorite
matter
thing
what.
about
What I like is that it doesn't pretend that it isn't true. Like Civ pretends to be considerably more neutral than it is.
Yeah. That's because, I mean, a lot of people think of some very kind of conservative-ish liberalism opinions as just being neutral instead of as being opinions
Yeah.
or viewpoints.
Several years have passed since the great expedition of young, plucky adventurers set off to discover the fabled lost city of gold. For years, no word was heard of their travels, but just yesterday they finally returned, walking proudly through the capital's gates, heads held high. Their faces are bleached by sun and wind, their bodies taut and rippled, but of riches they sought there is no sign. Instead, they bring a wealth of stories, tales of vanquished foes and incredible sights. How will you greet their return? Well, it sounds like we should fuck them. For one thing.
Wait, what?
So we can acclaim their grand possession. People want to join the military. We can chronicle their stories to make Unug prosperous for 10 turns. Or, with their experience, these men and women will make fine soldiers. New army reinforcement next to Unug. Hard to know exactly what that means. I wish mousing over the word reinforcement here showed a pop-up of like what the army is. I kind of want to take this though, given where we're about
Yeah.
to be. It's like acclaim is also certainly valuable. 35% reduced unit cost for 10 turns. Like, unfortunately we can't actually compare the value of acclaim to the value of recruit here because we don't know what these units are, and so we can't tell if they would be more valuable than the production bonus. So I guess we'll just hit recruit. All right, we'll deal with you in a second. This is the army. It was a single arquebusier, so we should have taken acclaim.
Oh well.
Well, how were we to know? So, a good friend of ours has been removed from the game in a way that's very bad for us. What do we do?
Build a bunch of fucking elephants. Get it
I
in
don't
boats.
I don't think elephants are the solution to this problem. I know that's going to sound crazy. I think for one thing, we do need to dial up the food output to remain something close to population neutral with all the unit building. Tikal should probably dial in some. Yeah, 28's pretty okay. Probably dial in some of that as well because we are going to need to produce a lot of units in the near future. All right, what does this offer?
Do something clever today. Sign this treaty.
Very well, friend. I will take this seriously.
I'm going to go ahead and accept because it doesn't matter.
Glorious. Yes. We
Congratulations.
have to do this again.
You can use my transport infrastructure. All of your units are going to be dead within the turn, but we've certainly done this thing. All right, so let's talk about the situation with green. We have a pretty large number of grievances against them that we should start processing here. We're about to start losing some of them. War declared contrary to the Congress of Humankind arbitration. They declared an unsanctioned war. So their war support, yeah, we have good war support against them. We're much less powerful than they are. And in theory, they have a greater manufacturing base than we do, almost certainly. We don't have details on what their cities look like, but just the raw number of cities they have, like a widespread population base like that is going to be better for recruiting soldiers because, each citizen in a city is consuming more and more food. Like it's a lot easier to rebuild a population back up to 90 people across 6 cities than it is to do it across 3 cities. And so if you're doing things that are costing you population constantly.
Yeah.
But I am definitely thinking that if we try to press these grievances, they're just going to declare war on us. The question is whether that war is worth delaying. It is, from our perspective, inevitable. We must kill them.
Yeah.
They have 2.5 times our score now. We must kill them
They're
to
an
be
era
in the
5.
game. But do we want war now? They're in era 5. They went up into the next era and they scored 4 stars on the first turn. Right? They just
Okay.
changed.
So my
Is that right?
question here is, how do they win?
They can just win by sitting still, but they can also win by killing us.
Right.
Yeah,
I know.
our Aruelo reached the industrial era this turn. So yeah, they gained 4 stars in the first turn. They don't have to do anything to win. They can win by acting, and they can also win by not acting.
What's the timetable? I'm trying to figure out is, does delaying give them more of a chance to win before we can declare a war? Like, I don't know the time scale of how close they are to win.
Well, I mean, the game ends at the end of the game. How close they are to win is not a concept.
Okay. I don't know.
We're playing to a turn number, not to a
Okay.
it's not a turn number. I guess it's when we hit the end of the game, the end of the ages, right? So I guess in that way it is a player driven timing thing, but it doesn't, I think, have any relevance to this question.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
We're gonna be at war with them at some point. Probably not too distantly in the future. The question is right now, or do we benefit from maintaining a sort of a quiet bubbling rage while we build a bunch of military units and then declare, 5 turns from now or whatever. My inclination is that maybe it just makes sense to demand now, and if the war starts, then we have 6 grievances worth of war score to start with.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, my initial thing is let's just go for it, because at this point, the only way we're going to win is through war.
Yeah, and I suspect I don't think we're going to win this war. To be clear, this is the only way we could win, but I do think we'll lose.
So might as well let it rip.
Your fate
I think that's probably right.
is my frustration.
Your code is mere stupidity.
Damn. And then we do have the resources to force her to respond this turn.
Yeah. Do it.
Your code is mere stupidity.
My demands have been refused. What is my answer to this outrage? Well, then I suppose it's war declaration. An international crisis vote would be pretty funny, considering we're the only 2 civilizations that meaningfully still exist. The loser of the international crisis vote will either have to accept the winning side's demand or declare an unsanctioned war. That's interesting.
Because you probably have more votes.
Oh, I certainly have more votes than they do.
You could make her surrender to. Oh,
We're gonna see. We're gonna see what this does. We're gonna try this button. But yeah, this is where the rubber's gonna meet the road as far as like the difficulty level. It may be that I'm just not good enough at this game to win on this difficulty. That absolutely might be the case.
Yeah. I did see someone in the comments say that the AI, they do not just get like fame generated over turns. It just
Okay.
So that's legitimately earned fame.
That seems not correct. Mathematically, like I said, that game I was playing where they were very close to 10,000 in the second era. I don't.
Yeah, the person broke it down in one of the comments.
Oh, okay. There's some math. Okay. I mean, they're probably right. But I don't see how, but that doesn't mean there isn't a how. It just means I don't see how. I think you guys don't want to be on the water just yet. I think you guys want to be, just kind of like hanging out in friendly territory, repairing for the moment. Yeah, I don't know exactly where. So let's move to next turn here and see what happens. I don't know why this a minor event asks for your attention on the relations screen. There's not really.
What's the shiny button on the lower left?
This is the Congress screen.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oh, it's glowing because the international crisis. What we do this right now. It just didn't. It should probably put that down here in your things to do before the end of the turn area. All right. In addition to declaring war or abandoning your demands, you can ask the Congress to arbitrate its outcome. As a voting member of Congress, you can also arbitrate others' disputes to support the empire you believe to be in the right. Well, this is going to blow your mind. I think I am right. And between the two of us, I have 100% of the voting power. Also, Pink thinks I'm in the right. So, what's up now, Hacha?
Right. See how that goes.
Yeah, do they get until next turn to?
I think it's the enter. Yeah.
Okay. The war ended, but Green certainly did not surrender.
Okay.
Well, hold on. So let's jump in here. Okay, there's a timer here, although mousing over it doesn't do anything. I guess this is maybe how long people have to vote. Like the international crisis actually resolves at this in 3
Okay.
turns. I do wish that there was a little bit less guesswork here,
Yeah.
which is basically just me saying I wish I understood these systems better. All right, you guys are massing up. And how is this city doing? The city is actually maintaining. It's maintaining okay. So we need to.
Elephants.
No, probably not. Right? Well, they have 40 base combat strength. Yeah, I need to be building better units than elephants, but we don't have any currently.
And they have 6 move and their range and they're elephants.
It is true. They do have 6 move and are elephants. And the arquebusiers can only move or attack, not both. So this poor city, like our population growth is we're never going to get anywhere. Where are we at on that district star? We need 2 more districts. I'm going to have this city build a little bit more. I would love to see a little bit more population support here. Gosh, there really aren't a lot of places left to generate food on this island. Okay, let's build these and then go into war mode. You guys are just hanging out for the moment. Down here, San Lorenzo still has the ability to build meaningful science districts, and so I do want to do that. We'll worry about all this stuff when that gets done.
They never gave you the opportunity to reserve the other wonder, did they?
Well, we haven't had enough influence to do it, so
Oh, okay.
we've been spending on civics a lot. And at this point, the cost of reserving another wonder is probably like 6,000-7,000, or 10,000 even. Jeez, yeah. So
Okay.
we'll get there, but we'll have to stop. Well, a lot of new civics came up in short order. Our efforts to stem the disease that robbed the livestock in Unog of first their minds and then their lives have fortunately proved effective. The exertion of dealing with the affected herds is as nothing compared to the devastating loss of animal and human life alike we might otherwise have faced. Life will quickly return to normal. And we're celebrating. Not that we need... Unog doesn't really need the stability, but that's fine. Yeah, formal war with green is going to be... Here's my biggest problem with this. You can probably tell to some degree from the way I tend to play these games in general. I don't necessarily find long campaigns of combat in these games very interesting. And when I look at something like this, where it's like you could maybe win if you can win this war, what I see is not a long and exciting campaign. It's a long and tedious campaign of battles, which is not to say that the battle mechanics are bad or that it's anything about, this is a thing about my preferences. I just don't want to fight a big war.
It's about your preferences and also like the emphasis, right? Because I've seen you play games like the one where you are taking the territory and you have the battles and your mana is generated by the types of units you have.
Well said. Songs of
Well, that
Conquest?
game, yeah, I mean
Okay.
that game is largely combat oriented.
That game is just combat, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's combat and the parts of economics that directly support combat. Yeah. That's a very, very common kind of 4X adjacent computer strategy game.
Right. But so the emphasis is on that, and so I don't think it like you seem to enjoy that game a lot
Yeah.
from talking to you about it.
Yeah, Songs of Conquest is
So-
rad.
So I feel like it's like because this is not presented as a military game and your preferences for the other parts of the game, the military stuff does not pull you in
I prefer number go up for sure.
the way it does for me given my particular background.
Yeah,
one
that's
reason why-
a
why-
good point. Do you want to take over for this war?
No, because I'm not good at the games. I'm good at designing them, but I'm not good at playing them. And also, I feel like one reason why I kind of was like, yeah, go ahead and pull off the Band-Aid here and get this going is, if the war is going to end in us, like, getting splatted, let's get that over quickly and then move on to the next thing, rather than have it be something that's drawn out and then you don't enjoy it as much. Go big.
Go big. I do broadly like to go big. It's just,
I mean, this could be like a mouse that roared situation. I don't know.
How dare you?
What?
Obviously, I would be a rat that roared.
Your international crisis demand has prevailed. Perhaps now would be a good time to switch off all the red alert sirens?
What does prevailed mean where you're from, dude? So we did gain 50 leverage, which gets us a star. All right, we got a lot of notifications here about being allowed to ask for stuff, but it turns out none of that's real because wartime. So here's all of our 60 war score, and it's time to fucking do the thing. Hey, you declared war when we said don't declare war about it. That's a really funny grievance to get, especially because, it necessarily is the case that we're at war, so we can't do anything with the grievance. All right. So this is going to be a fucking nightmare. But this was the way it was going to go, right? At least we got them to do it in a way where, like, we get a bunch of war support and they don't. So my plan here is to sort of like move a lot of our units up this way, and then, like I said, hit Texcoco from the land with support from the sea. Try to take this, and if we can get this, then we use this as the beachhead to push into
Right.
everything else. In theory, if we get Texcoco, Dakimahari is not well defended. We're able to sort of put ourselves between them and their reinforcements.
Wow, Texcoco has a lot of population.
It does. Well, I mean, not really. Texcoco has more population than this one city. It's about on par with most of the other cities.
Okay.
And our cities are at comparable levels as well, except for Unug, which has just lost a ton of population due to all of the military units.
Yeah. Well, is this a good point?
I think
oh,
this
yeah.
is the time to do the thing. So I'm going to have to say that is going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It's going to come down to this. It's going to come down to this big war. Our continent plus tiny iceberg against their 2 full continents and full era lead. Oh, they have 7 stars already. Their 2 full era lead.
So the thing I was trying to ask before is if they get to their last star in their last era, the game doesn't end yet until we get to that era?
No, I don't remember exactly how the game... I mean, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
The
well,
answer to your question is
they
actually
did that in 2 turns.
it
that's
doesn't
fine.
it doesn't matter. They win no matter what. Yeah,
Okay.
I like things looked bad before, and then they took an era in 2 turns, and continue to increase their rate of fame over us, but have increased their rate of acceleration of fame in a very clear
Yeah.
way. Like to pull this, I put the screen up before we
Okay.
check this, but just to pull the screen back down so everybody can see here, we're at 7285 and they're over 16k with a full set of stars in era 5 now. So they're accelerating away from us. So
Yeah.
I do not believe that it is possible for us to win in any way and at this point.
And we're just playing it out.
Well, I think we're gonna try an attack on Tetsuko, and if things don't go pretty much our way, we're going to fold, because my guess is, based on the way that we've seen the game conduct wars so far, they'll never actually kill us. My guess is they will conduct themselves in the war badly enough that they won't be able to beat us, but their score in every other part of the game will make it so it doesn't fucking matter whether or not we win the war. Like, we won't be able to win the war in the sense that we won't be able to take all their stuff, and they won't be able to do it to us either, and they'll win on the stars and the fame. You have no response? Okay.
No,
Sometimes
it's
you're a
just-
very challenging co-host.
I'm sorry. It's just like it.
I say a thing
I
like
mean,
that and you just...
It is what it is.
Yeah.
See, this is something that maybe you don't have experience with.
Uh-huh.
That I do, having played games with you, where I know I've lost 2 episodes in, to borrow a framework,
Uh-huh.
and I just gotta keep playing anyway. Try to do the best I can and set my own little personal goals, which does not include winning the games. I know I'm not going to win it. So it's been fun watching you play a game where you've been pretty clear for several episodes. We're not winning this. It's very unlikely we win this.
No, I've been clear from several episodes that we can't win this on fame.
Yeah.
I absolutely thought there was a chance we could win this militarily. I do not believe that anymore.
Okay.
Honestly,
Yeah.
at this point, given how long it would take us to cover the territory, even if we did have all of the fights go exactly our way, I don't know for sure that we could win the game. I don't know that we could cover all this ground fast enough to stop them from getting to the end of end of time. And in that case, I guess the exact mechanics of the way the game ends could matter. But I do not expect, like, given the way those sea battles went, I do not expect us to find, soft and easy territory for our military victories.
Well, come back next time.
Come back next time
viewers,
for
and
the climactic battles. We're gonna throw everything we got at this wall, and we're gonna see what happens. And we'll see you then.
we'll see you then.